The Extraordinary Phenomenon Investigations Council presents Epic Voyages. Come join us as we enter and experience the great mysteries of the world with tonight's host,
Maverick. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Epic Voyages Radio. I am your new guest host, Aaron Judkins, a.k.a. Maverick, coming to you from the great state of Texas and the Texas Hill Country. Just a little bit about me. I'm an archaeologist, author, explorer, having a passion for researching the mysteries of the past and exposing forbidden archaeology and forbidden history. To learn a little bit more about me, you can go to my website, www.aaronjudkins.com. Tonight we have a special guest, L.A. Marzulli. L.A. is author, speaker, researcher, author of the Nephilim Trilogy and the Cosmic Chess Match. His new book, On the Trail of the Nephilim, is due out this week. And the new series, Watchers 6, the host of the Watchers program. And the last half hour, Joe Taylor, paleontologist and author of Giants Against Evolution. L.A., welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, great to be here, Aaron. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on. I know our listeners are going to be really excited. Put on your seatbelts because this is really going to be a fascinating topic. L.A., you've got a lot of research into the Nephilim, and this new book that's coming out, On the Trail of the Nephilim, is very intriguing. Tell us a little bit about why you wrote the book.
I wrote the book because this is number 7 in sort of the Nephilim Chronicles, starting with the Nephilim Trilogy back in '99, which ended in 2005, and then the next book that came from that, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural, was all that research that went into the Nephilim Trilogy wound up in Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. The extension of that is the Alien Interview book, where I sit down with people who have looked at the UFO phenomena, everything from Dr. Roger Lear, Dr. Link Katai, Phoenix Lights. Dr. Roger Lear, again, is the surgeon who's taken out 16 implants. Dr. Link Katai saw the Phoenix Lights, recorded them. Five different PhDs come in and talk about this thing. Dr. Jesse Marcel, whose father, Jesse Marcel Sr., was the man in Roswell who handled what I believe, of course, was real UFO footage. It all goes back to, in my opinion, to the Nephilim, to the fallen angels having sex with the women and creating this demonic hybrid known as the Nephilim. And this, of course, Jesus himself gives us the heads up. It'll be like the days of Noah when I return, which immediately begs the question, what would differentiate the days of Noah from any other time? And that, in my opinion, is the presence of these fallen angels messing around with the human genome, which is what they've been doing literally for thousands and thousands of years. So in my research, we actually stumbled upon this. Russ Dizdar, a colleague, was talking to me about the Ohio Mounds, and I was out there to do a conference, and I had no idea what I was getting into, and or even that this mound work existed. And one thing led to another, and I was just completely blown away and bowled over by what was in Ohio, specifically the Great Circle Mound, the Octagon Mound. And in the more research I did into all these ancient sites, I realized that there seemed to be a deliberate cover-up spearheaded by the Smithsonian, whereupon these enormous, gigantic bones were confiscated, snagged up by the Smithsonian, never to be seen again. And the impetus of that sort of leg one, or part one of the book. And then, of course, part two is what I believe will become a landmark trip down to Peru and handling not only elongated skulls. Those are skulls which are cone-head in shape, but there are two types. There are cranial deformation or cradle headboarded types, which are done by the hand of man on a 6-month-old infant, where boards or textile material is wrapped around the head, and it creates this cone shape. But the skulls we saw clearly were not the evidence, were not the result of cradle headboarding. There was something else going on, at least in our opinion. We believe these are genetic anomalies. Someone is manipulating the gene pool. And the Paracas culture springs into existence right in the time with the diaspora, or when the Israelites are coming into the Promised Land, the Levant, and booting out these over 20 different Nephilim tribes, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Rephaim, Nephilim, Zamzumim, the Emims, all these different tribes that were settled in the land are literally fleeing for their lives. Some of them head northward, come down into the Ohio Valley, and that's our hypothesis. Others perhaps build ships and cross the Atlantic. This was bolstered by Kon-Tiki and Ra, by the explorer Thor Heyerdahl. So when we were down in Peru and we saw these elongated skulls, normal skulls, as you know this, Aaron, I have 4 plates, a frontal, 2 parietal, and an occipital. The parietal ones are up on top. They are sutured together with what we call sutures in the medical community. I'm not a doctor, but that's what they are. They're like sutures which hold these plates together. And what was amazing are many of the skulls in Paracas only had 1 parietal plate. There was not even a hint or trace of suture on top of that skull, where of course there should have been one. And if it was 1 skull, okay, something's weird, but hundreds of them. And everywhere we went, 1 parietal elongated skull. We believe that these were the descendants of one of the Nephilim tribes, although we have no idea which one. And we'll be in the process of trying to, in fact, when you join us in this new expedition, we're going to try to come back with some good DNA samples so we can get testing done on that.
Now, L.A., you're saying that these skulls, these elongated skulls in Peru, have a parietal plate, but they're missing a suture line, which is normally found in a normal human skull. You have the parietal plate and the parietal suture line, but that suture line and these elongated skulls are missing.
Correct. There doesn't seem to be even a hint of it, Aaron, and that what we found is alarming. Plus, there are other anomalies in the skull. At the top of the frontal plate in the skull that we took a cast of, there's a ridge right along the top of the bone where it joins from the frontal to the parietal, where there should be a parietal suture and there's not, as you pointed out. There's this ridge about the width of your pinky finger, and that just shouldn't be there. Nor is it a product of cradle headboarding or cranial deformation. So these skulls are certainly anomalous. They are different. They are out of the ordinary than what a normal skull would be, and that's why we're down there, and that's why we're doing the research.
Well, you've had anthropologists and forensic medical examiners take a look, at least at one of the skulls. What do they have to say about it?
Well, we've had 2 medical doctors examine the skull. One doctor said that he'd be hard-pressed to call it a normal human in any way, shape, or form. I was actually down at UCLA yesterday where I had a forensic anthropologist examine it. And at first he just, he brushed it off. But he just kind of looked at it real quickly and said, well, this is just cradle boarding. And I said, take another look. And then I began to point out the obvious things. And then he was taken aback and he went, whoa, where'd you get this? So I'm in communication with this gentleman, and he's certainly open to the information. And, now we have sort of a forensic anthropologist who is willing to examine anything we can bring in and weigh in on, which is just fantastic. So he'll be part of our team, although he'll not come down to Peru in this next expedition. But he certainly, he told me if we found a 30-inch femur, he'd be on the next plane, type of thing. So, and that's, Aaron, that's what we need. We need a 30, 35-inch femur. That's what we need here. It's time to pull out all the stops. We got to go where we got to go to get one. But there's one out there, and it's got my name on it. So, got to find this thing.
Well, L.A., is there other skulls that are similar to this elongated skull that's not a result of this cradle boarding?
Well, yeah, there are hundreds of skulls down there. There seems to be different types of genetic manipulation that's going on. We're way too early in the research to really become, adamant about one position. Although it seems right now that this does fit the timeline of Joshua and Caleb's conquest of the Promised Land, or the Levant. The Paracas culture shows up between 3,000 and 3,500 years ago, fits the timeline perfectly, as does the evidence that we have in the Ohio mounds, 3,000 to 3,500 years ago. Fits the timeline of the conquest of Canaan perfectly. And, we find it's just incredible that we're starting to connect the dots here. Something is going on. It seems to fit. What it does is it bolsters the supernatural biblical worldview and throws a huge monkey wrench into the Darwinist, Beringian land crossing that we've been held captive to for, since the Smithsonian and Alice Hadritha in the last century.
Now, Ellie, that is true. Is there any remains of giants found in the Ohio mounds? Many people may not know about that, but these are huge mounds over there that cover the Ohio and Mississippi River Valley. Has there been any giant remains found in those mounds?
Well, yes, there has, and I know you know this. Thanks for the softball question. But yeah, they're there between 9 and 12 feet. The smaller ones are like around 7.5, 8 footers, not that big. But there are some very large remains between 9 and 12 feet that were pulled out of these mounds, along with copper artifacts and large axe heads and spearheads and all this other stuff. And we know it existed. The evidence, of course, was picked up in most cases by the Smithsonian and never seen again. And this, of course, in my opinion, is deliberate obfuscation by the Smithsonian to protect at all costs the Darwinian paradigm. It sort of reminds me of Planet of the Apes, where you can't go there. That's the forbidden territory, because you'll see that mankind was before here. Well, we're in exactly the same deal. Why can't we look at the bones? Why can't we examine stuff? And of course, even yesterday when I was down at UCLA examining the remains of the Catalina skulls from Ralph Glidden's collection, which were all Native American, in my opinion, at least the ones I saw. There wasn't an anomalous skull in the bunch. Lots of disease, and you could see that, and evidence where they would chew on leather, and I get all that. But there was nothing anomalous about any of the artifacts or skulls, in contradiction to what Glidden penned in his books in the 20s. He was claiming that he had uncovered 9-footers, 10-footers in Catalina. Well, the evidence of that doesn't seem to be showing or forthcoming. He may have been a bit of a Barnum and Bailey type of guy, which was, sort of depressing. But all that to say, when I went into this museum, this is the back room, not a museum. Everything was just open, jawbones, mandibles, skulls, all just displayed right on tables as you're trying to put the pieces literally back together of these disarticulated skeletons. And there was a Native American representative who was there for most of the time. Once he deemed we were safe, then he left. But that's because of NAGPR, Native American Graves Protection Reparation Act. So now if someone from a tribe has to be there when you examine any of this evidence, and of course you can't take pictures. So it's sort of, which is a bummer, because I had my camera. I really wanted to take pictures, but they won't let you. We're in Peru. We took pictures of everything all day long. And
sure.
So, we're not under this sort of this intellectual coloring, if that's an appropriate term to use, that we are here in the States. But I was sort of taken aback. There was nothing that was there. The femur bones were, all of about a 5.5-foot person, 5.5-foot person. Nothing extraordinary at all. So this begs the question: what did Glidden do with these anomalous skeletons? And it makes me, I'm going to have to go back and sort of back to square one and begin the search again. He has a journal which has now been published. I believe it's been scanned, and I tried to see that back in February. It was all set up at the last minute. They pulled the plug. But we know, or at least we believe, that Glidden has addresses in that book of where some of these